So feminism to me is a movement to, number one, lie to women, demonize traditional women, and demonize men. Yes, that's the main idea I get when I think of feminism. And any male feminist is a lost cause.
Feminism has actually been used somehow to actually bring about a sort of stigma, and especially when it depends to people's decisions of how they actually want to spend or take care of their own families. So the only thing that I actually do disagree with what he is saying is that aspect where a woman should stay at home. But I think
we are in a society where nowadays being masculine is referred to as being toxic or angry and aggressive, and being a strong, independent woman is referred to as being a feminist. And today, in Minding Your Mind, we are going to demystify that. Welcome, my name is Kate Royero, and I am joined by my guests. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Crispus Mongi. I'm a podcaster, Nairobian podcast. So come over, check us out. Yeah, happy to be here.
hello everyone, my name is Joy Eve. I'm a therapist with M&M Foundation. I'm glad to be here again.
Hello, my name is Fred Mango. I deal in real estate, and also by profession I'm a purchasing and supply chain management.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here. I really appreciate that you could make time and join us. So to kick us off, I'd like us to first understand what is masculine, what is being manly, being male. Starting with Fred.
Masculinity, to my understanding, is as a man, I'm ought to be or to do or to behave in a manner that it's not diverting from what a man is supposed to be and expected to do in a society. To me, it's like a framework, and there's things I need to stick to as a man because it's something that we pass forth to generations. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Before we come to those things that you're supposed to stick to, kindly, Chrisem, what do you define being manly and being masculine as?
I'll go with what Fred has said. As a man, there are some things that I'm supposed to do as a man. There are some expectations, there's some roles in society that I'm supposed to play. So being a man, in a nutshell, is just being a man and doing all the roles that pertains to manliness. Forgive me for my definitions, I'm a lawyer. So when you're a lawyer, if you ask who is a boy, you say someone who's not a girl. Yeah. So you just go the exact opposite. So being a man is just, if you have some things to perform, and if you do them, you perform those roles as a man. Yeah.
Wow, Joy, I know you're not a man. When you hear of the word masculine, what comes to your mind?
I think it could be in different dimensions. I think biologically, of course, a man is pretty much different from a lady.
Yeah.
But also masculine, really, according to what we have already known, is defined by mostly of the social roles that have already been placed in the society.
Yeah.
So majorly a man, okay, depending on the society or or what we've known, a man is the strongest, physically strong, and the one who actually does most of the activities that are heavily different. Yes.
Wow. And Fred, when you hear the word feminism, what comes to your mind?
First of all, a woman, number one. And then feminism, to me, you need to be a person who respects who a man is and what a man is. Yeah. To me, that's all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you should respect men. And again, the way you relate also as a woman, there's this relationship woman to woman, then woman to man. So to me, there are boundaries there, how to relate with both like genders. Yeah.
Wow. So feminism to you is
Woman.
Mwanamke.
Yes.
Like there's no feminism as an independent woman. ni ikirelate na a man. Ati she a woman respecting a man. Ama.
Okay, to me, feminism, as I said, to me, what comes in my mind first is a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so I'll expect a woman to behave or to act as a woman
Mm-hmm.
in so many things. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So, okay, there's behavior that I'll expect from a woman,
Yeah.
which I won't expect from a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my understanding of that.
Wow. How about you, Christian?
The word feminism, to me, when I hear it, I hear lies. That's my understanding of feminism. It's a lie. It's a group of people who have come together to lie to each other, to make each other feel good, and to bash on the other gender, which is the men. There are male feminists. When I hear a male feminist, I see a person who's lost. Because I as a man, I want women to have opportunities. I want women to have to go and work just like other people. If you want to work, go work. It's your choice. But to tell other women that you're not working, you've been oppressed, you're not working, you're being mistreated and all that, that's a lie. Because there's a woman right now who's perfectly okay sitting at home, raising her child, looking after the husband. But the feminist movement, they look at the quote-unquote traditional woman and then heap blame on her. They say she's oppressed, she's brainwashed by the man. So feminism to me is a movement to, number one, lie to women, demonize traditional women, and demonize men. Yes, that's the main idea I get when I think of feminism. And any male feminist is a lost cause.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's harsh.
No. Like I said, I could want you to work, but not be a feminist, right? It's the values that are attached to feminism that I'm against. I fight those values because they're false. I'll give you an example right now. The feminist group, they want to say you going to an office and working is more empowering than you staying at home and raising your child. In what universe does that make sense, honestly? Because I have a wife, and I'll use Madam Eve here as an example.
Yeah.
We have a child and she's educated, but then she goes and hires a 16-year-old from Ushago to look after the child so that she can go to work. Now the child will spend a lot of time with the help. The help, number one, we don't know her values. We don't know anything about her, like proper values, what we want to impact on our child. Then the help ataza kuongea seme, oh, you know, that is the door, that is the whatever. So the kid grows up speaking like that because the mother wasn't present enough in the child's life to even help mold this child, because the majority of the time is spent with the help. It's more fulfilling to me looking after your family. This will sound like I'm a misogynist, but the first role of a wife, the first job that you get is your household. It's making sure that your house is okay, your husband is well looked after, your children are well looked after. Those are the values that you're supposed to have as a wife. Not going to work a job that you hate, number one, where you get kidogo pay, and you hate waking up going to that job. Every day you wake up, you're like, I have to go to that job, I have to go and meet Mark. Mark is always just talking ill about me. Why not stay at home and work for someone you love? Someone you want to see every day. Your children, they come from school, you want to hug and kiss them. Your husband is coming home, the house is clean, he's happy, you're happy. Isn't that a more fulfilling job rather than going to work a minimum pay job or a job you hate?
Don't you think that the society in the world that we are living in right now has driven women to that extent? Because if you look at this law that was in Parliament the other day, that a woman will not inherit anything from her husband, if they get divorced.
Yes.
And these women are taking care of the homes, as you were saying.
Yeah.
They're not going to work because they're committed to raising and nurturing their family. But if just in case anything comes up and they get divorced, they are not bound to get anything from that relationship. Yeah, don't you think it's the society that is pushing women to work and to, maybe leave the kids at home, neglect their household, and, and working doesn't mean you're neglecting your household.
Okay, so before I answer that question, just so that we're not lost in the weeds, are you saying if that law did not exist and women were allowed to inherit, you'd be okay with them not working?
I mean, because I'm at home raising the kid. I
Yes.
don't have time to go to work. I don't have assets. You know, I don't have my own money.
Yeah.
The only person I'm depending on is this man who is supposed to, you know, be my ride or die until death do us part.
Yeah.
So, and then something does us part before, you know, death. So, I mean, nitatoa wapi pesa?
No, but I'm asking, assuming that that law wasn't there, and it was okay, if your husband died, you could inherit, would you then be okay with women not working? Is your issue the law, or is there something else underlying?
Okay, there is the law and something else underlying.
Okay, because see now that's a fallacy we bring in, because we want to heap everything on that law, of which I don't think is okay. My thing is, I marry you and I have assets, or we have assets because we've built together and all that. There's something owed to you. I owe you something, that's for sure. If you divorce me, that's different. For me, if I die, I believe my property is supposed to move from me to you. If you divorce me, too bad for you. I'm against it if it's a divorce. But if it's death, yes, my property should move from me to you. As for the law, I'm not sure where it is at right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a bill. I don't think it's a law. But I think that still doesn't answer the question of feminism and saying, if she's a woman and she wants to stay at home and not work, you look at her as someone who's lost, because how can you just agree to stay at home and raise your kids and look after your husband, whereas you could be in the office working?
Wow, I'll let Joy join in on that.
All right, feminism. All right. Okay, so I do agree with what he says in some aspects. Like, feminism has actually been used somehow to actually bring about a sort of stigma, and especially when it depends to people's decisions of how they actually want to spend or take care of their own families. So the only thing that I actually do disagree with what he is saying is that aspect where a woman should stay at home. But I think maybe what would have been the way to actually address it is, you know, how a woman would want to be able to take care of the family, because people don't have the same mindset. You see, that's how now the society brings in a bit of conflict, because some people have particular opinions, like a woman should do this, a family should do this. Maybe that's what works for him, and then now he should look for a lady who actually agrees with the same. Yeah. But then there are families and there are men who are like, me, I'm very much okay with my wife going to work and us having a house help, and you know, and us actually doing this. That's what works for them. Yeah. But then if a person comes in and meets a person who doesn't have that mindset, because at the end of the day, it's not that women are like a bunch of skumas or like a bunch of things that are similar. Yeah. You know, women and men are people, and they all have different values, they have different personalities and everything. There are things that they don't take very, you know, heavy and everything. So you need to be able to know what does a person prefer, because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about, you know, doing this and doing that. It's be able to actually work with something that's actually working. Because there are situations in families where that may not work. Maybe the man is not earning enough. Yeah. And honestly, the household needs enough finances to actually even take care of the kids. So you can't go with that mindset and say, no, the woman has to stay home, the kids have to be taught by the woman, but then even the man is like, I don't think that can honestly work. Wow. So I think at the end of the day, I think that's when it becomes toxic, because you are, you know, and I'm not pointing fingers on you, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, what I normally say is that nobody is perfect. We are all learning, we are all getting better. And I think it's that aspect of actually knowing what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then that's where also feminism comes in wrongly. If that doesn't work for a particular woman, why then stigmatize her? If that's what works for you and you feel like you want to go to work and raise your kids by house helps and everything, I mean, then don't stigmatize somebody else who values family and feels like they actually want to invest most of their days and years first on the kids before they actually venture into career. So I think that's basically it. Being able to understand life is not like toxicity comes in. It's a form of perfectionism where a person sees things in one way. So now some situations that may not necessarily work. So now when it comes to a male, a man is a person, as we have described, a person who has very strong appeal and framework, so has the ability to actually like enforce things, and especially in a household, has the ability to enforce and bring in a particular culture. But then at the end of the day, if the person is not able to analyze, is this working? Should I try something else? That's when now it becomes masculine. Because if you enforce this by your ability, but then the people who you're enforcing on, they're not happy, and that's where now it becomes actually. It's not necessarily about the name, but what it affects, the effects of it. Yeah. That's when it becomes masculine.
Wow.
Toxic.
And being masculine is not bad. Being manly is not bad at all. But when it's, it hurts the other people, that's when it becomes a bit.
That's when it becomes toxic. Now the toxic is the negativity. The masculinity is not the negativity, is the toxic. So that's just my
wow. So Fred, what are some of the things that men do that are toxic in terms of how they carry themselves?
Yeah, as I said, I agree about toxic masculinity. But the first thing as a man you need to understand, first of all, in my family maybe I'm the head, and let me assume also in my workplace I'm the head. So what I need to understand is that I have that superiority or power given to me as my job or in my family. So I need to act or to whatever I'm doing should not affect the other person. Like for instance, you've said things that I should do, maybe like ladies, the way I interact with ladies. I need to respect as a woman. I need to see her as a woman, but not something like a component or something that is lower to me. But I should respect that, when there's something you're saying, that thing is bad to you. I need to think and understand that thing, when I do to you or when I say such things to you, you'll be hurt. And again, as a man also, what can make me to be toxic, for instance, I'm a father or I'm a husband to my wife. Maybe we are having a misunderstanding. In the first place, I'm strong. Yeah, even if we get into a fight, I'm strong. So I should not fight her, but I ought to listen to her issues and understand and solve those issues without having to have physical engagement. Yeah, so I need to stick, and then it doesn't also remain to the family setup, but also in the outside, like as a man, the sexual orientation. Maybe I can be heterosexual as I'm straight, that is, but I should not call names to those people who are maybe homosexual. As a man, I need to respect and understand that these people, maybe they behave in that certain way, but I should not shame them publicly, or I should not scold them. But understand and try to understand why are they behaving in such a way. If I hate that thing, for me, I don't advocate for homosexuality actually, but I need to understand why are they behaving that manner, so that the coming generation, I must train my kids in a way that they should not subscribe to that, Yeah, but I should. Those who already are there, if they cannot change, I need to respect them. Yeah, and let them be the way they want to be.
Wow. Yeah. And Chrisem, what do you think, according to you, are some of the traits of toxic masculinity?
I don't think toxic masculinity is a thing. That's number one. I do believe there are men who behave badly. There are men who do things that are they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But I don't put that on toxic masculinity, because women also do the same things. Women will behave in a particular way. It's just in society you have good people and bad people, people who are well behaved and not well behaved. But to take that and cluster it in, because this person is a man and he did this thing which we don't agree with, that is toxic masculinity. I don't agree with that. So I can't answer that question, because as a notion, as a premise, it doesn't exist to me. Yeah.
Wow, how about you, Doc? Leo tutajua tuko na lawyer.
All right, so it's like let me just call it my own terms. It's like maybe a disorder that maybe has been when we maybe like it's called what, it's like now when you take a person through analysis and maybe you want to diagnose what's actually happening to them. If you don't have, other than saying maybe your moods are low, you have this and this and this. So what happens is that we put together those symptoms and then we give it a name. So just because you don't acknowledge, maybe, because that name is actually given, other than saying this behavior is like this, like this, like this, we put them together and we just call it toxic. It's not necessarily like, you know, it's the same thing when somebody is acting a particular way, their emotions are like this, they're hopeless and everything, we just say that's a depressive disorder or manic, or it's just a combination of particular symptoms. So toxicity, it depends with how somebody feels about it. If a person, maybe I may not know, but maybe if a person feels like that name is a bit overwhelming, so and they prefer maybe to go with the symptoms and say people are bad. So that's how I see it. But now that will not necessarily change the fact that maybe it's been labeled that way. Yes. So specific behaviors, because now the thing is, the world is broken, and that's the fact. Just because you're good, that doesn't mean out there people are okay. There are people who are totally toxic, psychopaths and everything. And just because your side, you have not experienced that, we're not necessarily saying that it is you, but out there there are people who are crazy. Every day, even as therapists, sometimes we have to save women, some women who have been battered. And even today, before I actually came here, we had to actually help a woman out of a relationship where she's beaten, harassed, and everything. She's the only one taking care of the kids, but she's also beaten, abused, name called. That's totally toxic. If you are not, it's okay, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You can't just be oblivious that it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist on your world, doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the broken world. Yeah.
Wow.